So when David asked me, what got me hooked on the idea of the project, he said, played me the sound of the Vortex ring, the Vortex sound, which goes something like that, this kind of warbling, ascending sound. And then I thought, okay, in some way I would orchestrate this sound, but also I delved into the whole vortex science as much as I can understand. Because once IOU got this researcher, scientist involved in researching how to, let's say, mathematically recreate this sound, at a certain point, like my maths knowledge and understanding of the data that was being produced, I thought I would end up using this data. What I did end up doing is making some generative algorithms in software to generate vortex-like sort of procedures. Not exactly the sort of modeling of that sound, but something akin to it. So it was a mixture of like using my ear to trying to create something like that, and also using certain functions to generate music. But then let's say, the way the piece developed, we went through various or David went through various ideas about installation and concert piece. And the first thing we did was the installation piece, Speaking Tubes. David came up with this wonderful tube sort of form, and with these 5 speakers more or less in each one, like 5 double speakers, let's put it that way. And it's what I find fascinating. It's not the usual sort of 5 surround sound system. Let's say each speaker goes out to 2 openings. So there's 10 openings. So it gives a very strange, it kind of creates a very sort of strange listening positions in the piece. So the first idea was to do a sound installation for that, and then I used an actress spoke one of the sort of classic vortex equations very slowly in sort of verbalized it, and I used her voice because I wanted to have, say, the human voice somehow present in this installation. Partly because I don't know if the name came first, Speaking Tubes, or where we discussed, this idea of vocality, and somehow I wanted, to recreate this kind of scientific space seed kind of sound world, but everything using the human voice. So she spoke this vortex equation, and we had this sound going through these kind of vortex sounds, like colliding with them, and also modeling them so that's how this sort of installation sound world came about. And then the next step was to make a concert version, and I ended up making this one piece called Shooting at Clouds, which basically slowed down the whole trajectory of the vortex cannon to about 60 times. So from 24 seconds to 20 seconds to 20 minutes, something like that. So you have this gradual ascent over about 2 octaves, with the instruments kind of interlocking around it. So they're sort of warbling, but very slowly going up and down, up and down, like this. So it's a kind of slowed down vortex sort of ring, and that was the concept of the composition. So once we had that, I thought the missing piece is to have like a great improviser, to play with the system and to play with the sound. Somebody who really could connect to this kind of sonic world. And first name that came to my mind was John Butcher, saxophone player. One of the best saxophone player in my mind in the world. He sort of reacts to the system, going in and out of it, trying to like putting in, you know, sound which I could sort of manipulate around the tubes. So then we have this kind of three-part sort of composition around the tubes. Well, I mean, John, I've known for many years, and we have a very good mutual friend who plays with him, and I've played with him also years ago, like about 10, 15 years ago even. And I know him quite well. We've released his music on my label, so it's. But he is also a specialist in playing really strange situations. So if there's a sort of cave out in the middle of Shetland somewhere, you know, that's got a great acoustic, John will play there, you know, and he's also played in some Japanese nuclear plant. He's played in lots of really weird situations. So I thought actually John would actually appreciate working with the sort of sonic parameters of this piece. So and he was really up for it. Yeah.
What is interesting for me in working in this way and working with Yannis is actually the sculptural nature of the sound that you create, and sound has a sort of sculptural sense for me anyway, but just sort of combine that with placing sound in space in a more unusual way, so that depending where you are as a listener and someone experiencing it, wherever you stand, you'll be getting a slightly different version of the soundscape than someone who's stood the other side of it. So no one's getting quite the same experience. I like that sort of multi-layered possibilities of it, that you never quite hear it the same twice. And it's particularly with the musicians who also improvise with it, they're responding to it, and they'll respond to each other, and they'll be responding to the way the sounds are because when they play, they go through Yannis' computer who is manipulating it live, feeding it back into the system. So though it's composed, it's never really the same twice, as it were. And again, great to have John Butcher there responding to it as well. So I like the fact that it's a very sort of solid three-dimensional space with the sort of sculptural, quite sort of surprising sculptural shapes. But from that, you also have a very sort of sculptural experience with the sound. And so if people get that would be great.
It's different. In terms of also the musicians have been different, and like the spaces have been different, but yeah, you do notice also how audiences react in different ways. As David said, it's one of the interesting aspects is you as an audience you have to find your own listening position, and which I think for some audiences it's kind of relatively new experience. How do you deal with that? Is it a concert, or is it an installation, or is it like playground? You know, is it, you know, it's so anyway, I do like it when the audience feels a bit free, but also is kind of respectful of others. So you're not sort of. But actually, it's nice when people just are in the space and walking around, you know, and understand that it's up to them how they experience it.